no longer controls. The Forbidden Fortress is no longer forbidden. It's just an island with a lot of broken electronics, and a very clear lesson sequence beats firepower every time. The tankers are moving. The mission is complete. Dismissed. Think about the last time you filled up your car. You saw a number on a screen, a price per gallon that dictates your weekly budget. You probably didn't think about a jagged rock in the middle of the Persian Gulf, but your bank account is tethered to it by an invisible high-tension wire. That rock is Karg Island. It is the single most sensitive pressure point in the global energy market, a coral and steel heart that pumps 90% of Iran's crude oil to the world. For decades, the geopolitical consensus was simple: Karg Island is the untouchable. You cannot strike it without causing a global economic cardiac arrest. Tehran knew this. They treated the island as a sovereign insurance policy, a place where they could park their most aggressive military assets right next to the world's fuel supply, assuming no one would ever be brave or crazy enough to pull the trigger. The insurance policy just lapsed. At 2 a.m., pro-Iranian militias operating under the umbrella of the IRGC launched a coordinated swarm of drones and cruise missiles into civilian oil depots. It was an act of global arson, a calculated move to prove that the IRGC could set the world's economy on fire whenever they felt slighted. They expected the standard Western response, a sternly worded UN resolution, followed by a few $1 million worth of cruise missiles hitting an empty warehouse in the desert. They believed their forbidden fortress on Karg Island, protected by the Bavar 373 and a wall of elite IRGC Marines, would shield them from any real consequences. They were playing a game of chicken with an opponent that had already replaced the steering wheel with an algorithm. The US Navy and Air Force have just been unleashed with a mission that shouldn't be possible: to surgically delete the Iranian military presence on Karg Island while keeping the oil flowing. We are talking about a bombardment so precise that it can vaporize a missile launcher while leaving the glass windows of a nearby refinery intact. This is a story about the ROI of absolute technological superiority and the cold math of a no-win scenario. If the timing is off by even a fraction of a percent, the global economy shatters. But in the kill web, there's no such thing as off. Karg Island isn't just a port, it's a 22 square kilometer bristling porcupine. The crown jewel is the Bavar 373. Iran advertises this as a system that makes the Russian S-400 look like a vintage relic. Its Mirage 4 radar is a technological monster, throwing out a beam that can detect a conventional fighter at 240 miles. That is the distance from London to Paris. If you're a pilot and that radar sweeps over your wing, you are already standing in a digital graveyard. The Bavar 373 is supported by the S-300PMU-2 and the Khordad 15, creating a high-low-medium altitude kill zone. Beneath these missiles, the IRGC has hollowed out the island's rock to hide hundreds of fast attack craft and midget submarines. They built reinforced concrete pens designed to withstand the heaviest bunker busters in existence. The Iranian logic was pure game theory. If we make the cost of entry too high, the Americans will never pay it. They prepared for a war of attrition. They prepared for a frontal assault. They didn't prepare for a sequence that views their billions of dollars in hardware as nothing more than a series of bottlenecks to be removed. The attack doesn't start with a sound. It starts with a digital lobotomy. It is what the Pentagon calls shaping the environment. And tonight it's being handled by the invisible architects at US Cyber Command. While the IRGC operators on Karg are staring at their multi-million-dollar consoles, a series of classified cyber injections are rewriting the island's reality. We aren't just jamming their radios, we are severing the nerves of the entire command structure. By 1:15 a.m., the integrated air defense network of Karg Island is functionally dead. The radars are still spinning and the Bavar 373 missiles are still in their tubes, but they can no longer talk to the mainland or to each other. This is the whale breath rule of information warfare, a rhythmic, suffocating denial of truth. A battery commander on the North Pier sees a clear sky on his screen, while the commander 5 miles away sees a screen filled with 500 phantom targets. They are no longer a system. They are just a collection of expensive, isolated metal boxes waiting for the inevitable. The US has stripped away Iran's digital sovereignty before a single physical shot has been fired. At 1:30 a.m., the physical world begins to burn, but not in the way the Iranians expected. from the bomb bays of B-52 Strato fortresses loitering safely in international airspace waves of ADM-160MALD are released. These are not missiles. They are 300-pound electronic ghosts. They carry signature augmentation systems that make them appear on an Iranian radar as a massive high-priority target, mimicking the exact radar cross-section of a B-1B Lancer or an F-15E Strike Eagle. The IRGC commanders already on edge after the UAE attacks see a nightmare on their screens, a massive multi-axis American air raid coming directly for their oil terminals. Their training manuals offer only one correct response: fire. And they do. A single Sayad-4B interceptor missile costs the Iranian regime roughly $2 million to produce. One ADM-160MALD decoy costs about as much as a high-end SUV. For the next 30 minutes, the IRGC spends 40 years of strategic savings to shoot down ghosts. Every launch is an economic sinkhole. Every interceptor spent is one less round in the magazine for when the real hammer falls. More importantly, every time they fire, their tracking radars operate at full power continuous emission. They are turning on a high-intensity flashlight in a dark room and screaming their coordinates to every American sensor in the Gulf. While the IRGC is busy bankrupting its missile magazines on decoys, the real predators are already inside the house. The F-35C Lightning, two jets from the USS Abraham Lincoln, are loitering inside the Iranian kill zone with total impunity. Their radar cross-section is approximately 0.005 square meters, about the size of a golf ball. To the Mirage 4 radar, they are invisible. But the stealth jets aren't just hiding, they are quarterbacking the dilemma. Coordinated by EA-18G Growlers, throwing out a massive wall of electronic noise, the stealth fighters release the AGM-88GAAR-GMER. This is a logic trap in a titanium tube. It moves at Mach 2, twice the speed of sound, clearing the distance of a marathon in less than 60 seconds. It homes in on the radiation emitted by the Iranian radars. Here is the no-win scenario for the Iranian operator. If he keeps his radar on to find the American jets, he dies by the beam follower. If he turns the radar off to hide the AGM-88GAAR-GMER switches to its internal GPS and millimeter wave radar, which remembers exactly where the truck was parked 30 seconds ago. There is no correct answer. This is checkmate. The very radars the Iranians built to protect their oil are now the homing beacons for their own destruction. With the high-altitude eyes of the island poked out the sequence transitions to a weapon the Iranians thought was a relic, the A-10 Thunderbolt II, the Warthog. While the stealth jets handle the long-range missiles, the Warthogs are skimming the waves of the Persian Gulf at 500 feet, hugging the whitecaps to stay below any remaining short-range sensors. Their mission shred the littoral. The IRGC has scrambled dozens of fast attack craft from their reinforced pens, intending to swarm the Arleigh Burke-class destroyers and tankers. The A-10 Thunderbolt II is a titanium bathtub wrapped around a 30mm GAU-8 Avenger cannon. In a coordinated sweep with the Navy's MH-60R Seahawk helicopters, the Warthogs engage the Iranian swarm. To a fiberglass fast attack boat, a 30mm depleted uranium round is like being hit by a chainsaw made of lightning. The A-10s neutralized the entire Iranian naval defense of the island in under 15 minutes. The fleet Tehran spent decades building to close the Strait of Hormuz is reduced to burning driftwood before they can even get a visual on a single American ship. The Warthog isn't just a plane, it's a clinical eraser of literal arrogance. By 2:45 a.m., the wall has been completely dismantled. The IRGC's eyes are gone. Their swarm is at the bottom of the Gulf, and their command is in a state of total paralysis. Now comes the part that shouldn't be possible: the destruction of the military heart of Karg without scratching the oil terminals. This is where the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber takes center stage. Flying a mission that spans halfway across the globe, the B-2 arrives over the island carrying the GBU-57A/B, massive ordnance penetrator. This is a 30,000-pound kinetic hammer designed to find the IRGC command and control bunkers buried 200 feet deep in the coral rock. The GBU-57A/B doesn't just explode, it punches through the earth, while the B-2 eliminates the brains of the Operation F-15E. Strike Eagles use the GBU-39 small-diameter bomb to pick the locks on the surface. Each GBU-39CDB is a 250-pound glide bomb with a precision guidance system that allows it to fly through a specific hangar door or hit a specific truck. We are vaporizing missile launchers that are parked literally 60 feet from primary oil pipelines, yet the pipelines remain completely intact. This isn't just a bombardment, it is a high-speed engineering project where the only byproduct is the total deletion of the IRGC. We are using the impossible soul to trap the defenders in their own fortifications. While the island is being systematically disassembled, the IRGC tries to pull its final lever. Pro-Iranian militias in Iraq begin rolling out mobile Fateh 110 short-range ballistic missiles from hidden bunkers in the Anbar province. They intend to launch a massive retaliatory strike against U.S. personnel at Erbil and Al Asad Air Base, hoping to create enough chaos to force a ceasefire at Karg. A secondary flight of A-10 Thunderbolt IIs, supported by MQ-9 Reaper drones, has been loitering in the black space over the Iraqi-Iranian border for 3 hours. The moment the militia crews roll the Fateh 110 launchers into the open, they are painted by infrared laser designators from the drones. The A-10s move in using their 30mm cannons and AGM-114 Hellfire missiles to erase the threat before a single ballistic missile can even begin its launch sequence. The militias didn't just fail, they were deleted from the battlefield before they could even contribute to the conflict. The US just proved that it can fight a high-intensity war on an island and a surgical counterstrike in a desert at the exact same time using the same unified logic. To close the sequence, the final asset of the chain arrives. 45 minutes ago, before the first cyber attack even took place, the Arleigh Burke-class destroyers launched a wave of Tomahawk Block 5 cruise missiles from the middle of the Gulf. Because the Tomahawk is a subsonic weapon traveling at Mach 0.7 for roughly 560 miles per hour, it took the entire duration of the air campaign to reach the target area. The preceding 90 minutes of chaos, the decoys, the AGM-88GAAR, GMER strikes, and the A-10 sweeps were all designed to clear the door for these missiles. When the Tomahawk Block 5 missiles cross the shoreline of Karg Island, there is absolutely nothing left to stop them. They don't just fly, they navigate. Using their onboard cameras and terrain-matching sensors, they verify their targets in real time. They ignore the oil storage tanks weave through the refinery towers and impact the IRGC's specialized submarine docks and fuel depots with the force of a kinetic freight train. The impossible wall has been completely dismantled, and yet the global price of oil remains steady because the pumps are still working. The mission is complete. The most telling metric of tonight's engagement isn't the